What if we have tried to destroy this planet, but we are unable to? We cannot destroy this planet even if we tried. Not because we don't have the technology. Oh, we've got the technology. We could do it a few times over, potentially, right? But reality itself will not allow us to destroy this planet. Something, Vishnu, will not allow us to destroy this planet. Not until Shiva comes, anyway. So first of all, let's talk about CERN, C-E-R-N. CERN is considered probably the most important scientific research institution on planet Earth, right? And it receives a lot of funding from taxpayers, mostly German taxpayers. So hopefully it's doing some important research that is for the greater good of mankind. Well, it is doing some interesting stuff. For example, there's a few things that you might not know that CERN is linked to. For example, cryogenics. Also, CERN is credited for creating the internet or the World Wide Web. So that's interesting in itself. But what it's mostly known for is this: the Large Hadron Collider. Now, this is a giant particle accelerator. It's a 17-mile tunnel underground on the border of Switzerland and France. And what it does is it shoots tiny little particles around this tunnel at near the speed of light, smashing these particles together. Now, why are they doing this? Well, they want to see what happens. They want to see what happens, basically, because there's a few open-ended questions about the nature of our reality that they want to answer. And they believe by doing this, they will answer these questions. Now, this also has the potential to create a black hole or blow up the whole planet. Yes, it does have the potential to do this. Now, they say the chances of it creating a black hole, the risks of this, are minimal because Hawking radiation will dissipate any sort of black hole before it arises, blah, 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 right? That's the idea. But because these are open questions about the nature of our reality, they actually didn't know what would happen. It was kind of a risk. Or did they? Or did they? That's the question. Now, saying that, with that in mind, the fact that this could be a black hole creating machine, you would hope that there's no strange stuff going on at CERN. There's no weird stuff surrounding CERN. It's just a boring research facility. There's nothing weird going on, right? Now, some ex-employees and whistleblowers of CERN have come out and said that they're doing some interesting stuff. Like, for example, potentially opening up portals to other dimensions to allow demons into our dimension. More specifically, they are shooting particle beams through panes of glass that are engraved with the demon symbols of the Lesser Key of Solomon in order to open up portals to allow demons to enter our reality. Now, that's all fun. Isn't that fun? That's a fun idea. I like that idea. But for now, I just want to talk about this. This is a giant statue of Shiva that is at the headquarters of CERN in Switzerland. Now, why do they have a statue of Shiva? Well, Shiva is kind of connected to the alchemical process because Shiva is the god of destruction and creation. You know, you have to destroy things in order to create. But at the same time, Shiva is the god of destruction at the end of time. So it is a bit strange that they have this statue there. But it gets even weirder because a few years ago, there was an occult ritual performed around this sculpture. Now, CERN have come out and said that this was a prank. Yes, this mock sacrifice ritual performed in front of the sculpture of Shiva, this was a prank. But that's a bit weird because this was a prank performed at night at one of the most secure facilities on Earth. Like, what were the security guards doing? Were they just watching this, doing nothing? It's very strange. But let's think about Shiva one more time, because Shiva is the god of destruction at the end of time. And how he does this is he destroys this universe in order to create a new one, right? Now consider that. What if CERN, using the Hadron Collider, what if they actually were trying to destroy this planet using this technology in order to prove a theory? Now, within philosophical and physics circles, there's this concept of the multi-world interpretation. Now, you might know it as the multiverse. from the Marvel movies or from Rick and Morty. The idea is simple, that we are living in just one universe of infinite potential universes, and every single quantum event creates a new universe, and therefore there are infinite amount of potential. I don't like this theory because it's like the God of the gaps. It answers everything. Why are we here? Well, we're just living in that lucky universe where we exist. It kind of answers everything. I think it sucks. But if you do believe in the multiverse or the multi-world interpretation, guess what? There's a way you can test this. It's called quantum immortality. Now, do not test this. Do not test this. Let me explain, okay? The idea is simple. Every time you die, you actually don't die because you will jump to a universe where you continue to live. Every time you die, you just jump to a universe where you live. So technically, you are immortal, right? So as you can tell, I don't want you to test this theory, because even if this theory is true, even if the quantum immortality theory is true, you will be leaving behind a universe where you do not exist. Your friends and family will be missing you. I will miss you. So please do not test this theory, right? Quantum immortality. But let's say I believe that quantum immortality does not exist, especially on an individual level, because we would expect to see a 600-year-old man constantly in a state of dying and rebirth as the universes go on and create new universes where he continues to live. But we never see that. Therefore, quantum immortality debunked, potentially. Now, saying that, imagine this. Imagine if we actually have quantum immortality on a global level, right? The world cannot be destroyed because every time we destroy the world, we jump to a reality where the world still exists. Now, within Buddhism, there's this concept of emptiness, that there's this empty space that our reality comes from. I forgot what the word for it is, but within Hindu philosophy, they would call this Brahman. Brahman is the god of creation, but also everything comes from Brahman, because Brahman is like infinite formless potential in the future that we draw our existence from. And as we perceive our reality using our consciousness or our Atman, we are rendering this reality in real time from Brahman. Does that make sense? And this reality that we are seeing around us is called Maya. But if you believe in simulation theory, you could say that this reality that we are seeing around us is the Matrix or Maya, and we are drawing it from this empty space. Now, why am I saying this? Well, bear that in mind, because now we're going to talk about everyone's favorite physics experiment, the double-slit experiment. Everyone knows about this, right? Now, this experiment is kind of like the foundations of quantum mechanics. And within these quantum field circles, it's becoming quite controversial. There's a lot of debate about this at the moment, for obvious reasons, because it raises a lot of strange questions about the nature of our reality. Now, I'm not going to get into that because for this video, we're just going to have fun, okay? So you can poo-poo this if you want, but let's just have fun with this. I'm going to quickly explain the experiment. Most of you already know about this. The idea is simple. Imagine there's a barrier here with two open slits, and you shoot protons at it one at a time. Pew, pew, pew. Now, what you would expect to see on the wall behind is two lines where the proton goes directly through these slits. But instead, what you see is a wave pattern, almost like the proton is interacting with itself, almost like there's infinite potential happening. It's kind of strange. So what do? Well, you measure this, you observe this, and as soon as you observe this or try to interact with this, what you actually see is the proton begins acting as it should be. It starts going straight. So it's almost like observing this act changes what happens in real time, almost like it's rendering in real time. So you can think of it like this. I'm looking at it, it's going straight, and as soon as I look away, it's a wave pattern. Straight, wave pattern, straight, wave pattern, straight. It's almost like our consciousness or the act of interacting with this is defining what's happening. Kind of strange, right? It's almost like Maya, the Matrix, our reality, is being formed from Brahman, the infinite potential of emptiness, in real time as we observe this. Okay? Kind of weird. Now, this is the basic bitch explanation of the double-slit experiment, and what it implies is that life itself is required to render this reality. That life, or you could even say consciousness, is required to keep this reality together. John Archibald Wheeler, old Archie here, he called this the participatory universe, that participants are required in order to keep this reality together. Now, with that in mind, consider this. What would happen if there was no life, if all life on this planet died, or even in the universe, all life died in this universe? What would happen then? Well, this universe would potentially explode into infinite potential, like that little particle that was interacting with itself. That's what would happen, because there would be no participants in order to interact with it. Therefore, every single particle would just explode into infinite potential until a new life form forms, and then the universe would create itself again. That's the idea. Now, with that in mind, that life is required to keep this universe going, this kind of implies that we have this potentially a quantum immortality on a global level, that the globe is required, that this earth is required to keep reality together, to keep this universe together, if you don't believe in aliens, right? So let's say you had this theory in play in your mind. How could you test this theory? That if you blew up this planet, that we would jump to a universe where we still exist, that kind of idea. How would you test this? Well, you could create a black hole in Switzerland. You could do that. You could try blowing up the planet. So let's say they did this in 2012, right? When the Higgs boson thing, they successfully achieved their goal of destroying the planet, and we jumped to a new reality where this planet continues to exist. People are saying that that's what's happened. I remember there was this young kid on YouTube talking about this years ago, where he says that's why we have this Mandela effect, where we believe that actually the universe has shifted somehow and we are remembering things differently, and we are in a new universe because we blew up the universe in 2012. There's that idea. But also there's another concept, right? The idea that actually we were just unable to blow up the planet because there's some sort of divine or some kind of fourth dimensional creature of some kind stopping us from doing this every single time we try. And that kind of makes sense a little bit, because I want you to consider how fragile life is on this planet. Like the idea that we still exist is insane. Like one solar flare from the sun could wipe out all life on this planet, but it hasn't. A comet could hit this planet and wipe out all life on this planet, but it hasn't. One slight change in the nature of physics, one of our constants within this universe, like the speed of light or gravity, one of those things could shift and destroy all life, but it hasn't. Everything seems to be intact, almost like there's something stopping us from dying. Or you could say reality itself requires our existence in order to render it. And with that in mind, actually, CERN have reported that there's some sort of strange behavior within the particle accelerator that they could not explain. For a while, they just called it a ghost, I think. They called it a ghost. It was almost like there was something shifting the particles and stopping them from colliding together and stuff like this. There was some stuff they couldn't explain. Later on, they said that it was just like sort of magnetic deference or something along these lines. But it would be funny if God was, or there was a divine protector slowly changing the direction of particles to stop us blowing up the planet. That is a funny way of thinking about it. You could say that reality itself is manipulating it to stop us from blowing up the planet as well. And within Hindu cosmology, they would call this Vishnu. Vishnu is the god of the present, the protector of the now, keeping this Kali Yuga going until Shiva arrives. So that's interesting, right? Now, this seems like a strange video for me to do. I understand, like, I'm not a physics guy. I'm a retard. That's what I am. I'm sorry. I'm Welsh-Irish. I was born to be a potato farmer or put in a dark cave and smashing rocks with a hammer. That is what I was born to do. But at the same time, I am very interested in the Jeffrey Epstein files. And a lot of what I've spoken about today can be found within the Jeffrey Epstein emails if you look hard enough. I'll give you an example. Deepak Chopra. You know this guy? He's a guru that everyone loves, this old fart, right? This guy who preaches a new form of New Age Buddhist morality, this guy also says that God is a construct, but cute girls are real. He says that within the emails, allegedly. I gotta keep remembering to say allegedly. I don't want to get sued, but you can find these emails there. But also there's a chain of emails where he discusses the participatory universe. He talks about these things that we've mentioned today. The idea that we are rendering our reality with our consciousness. He talks about this. So Jeffrey Epstein is connected to these kind of concepts, but at the same time, he's connected to people at CERN. He's connected to people at CERN. For example, there's this woman that talks about creating wormholes at CERN. She went to his island, allegedly. Now let's take this to another schizo level, right? Let's take it to another level. You think I'm done? I'm not done, there's more, right? Because consider this. Within the Jeffrey Epstein files, he also discusses how he wants to merge his mind with machines potentially, or life extension through machines. And he's connected to the idea of the singularity, that one day we could create an exponential growth of intelligence and create a godlike single intelligence, a singularity event through the omega point, either externally through an artificial intelligence or through the merging of minds with machines. Either way, they could create a life form that is super intelligent. Right, that concept. Now, think about that, but then consider the participatory universe idea again. The idea that life is required to render this reality. How much life is required to render our reality? Technically, only one life form. Only one life form is required to render this universe. And if you have only one life form, let's say the one life form kills all other life in this universe, that one life form would be able to render reality as it wants to. It would be able to control reality in a different way because it is the only form of rendering. That's crazy, right? That's insane. That's funny. Does that make sense what I just said? So let's say Jeffrey and his friends, they want to achieve the singularity event. They could then create a new universe in their image. And this also, in my mind anyway, probably not to you, but it aligns with Hindu cosmology. Because at the start of time, you have Brahman, and then you have life protected by Vishnu. Vishnu becomes everything. This is all of life here. And then you have Shiva. And you could say one life form, millions of life forms or billions of life forms, and then one life form again. And then this life form could then cycle back and create a new universe again. This is the breathing in and breathing out of Hindu cosmology. We could be creating Shiva through the singularity, and then Shiva could then create the universe. Now I'm going to leave this video on a little bit of a disclaimer, because every time you hear about a new scientific breakthrough, I want you to take it with a pinch of salt. Just consider that it might be fake, right? Consider it. Because the science community and large science institutions like CERN, they will say anything and do anything in order to achieve their next round of funding. CERN will be very lucky if it achieves the same amount of funding it received previously from Europe. And they are looking for their next round of funding. And they will make up any bullshit in order to achieve that. They will do this, right? They could make up any bullshit and tell the European Union that they need more money, and the European Union might fall for it, right? They might fall for it. So every time you hear about some sort of scientific breakthrough, you do really have to consider whether what they're saying is real or whether they're faking it to get more money, because that's how it works. And with artificial intelligence now able to generate images, generate any kind of bullshit. With artificial intelligence, we are on a new level of this. The nature of our reality will become so fake, they can fake anything in the future. It's insane. And they could fake anything with AI and require more funding. It sounds like a very conspiracy theory thing to say, but I'll do another video on this because there's a few experiments and breakthroughs throughout history that have just been bullshit in order to get more funding. There's a huge list of these things and that have been disproven afterwards, right? It happens a lot. So when you hear about some sort of wormhole generated or anything like this, you have to really take it with a pinch of salt. Take it with a pinch of salt. That's trust your gut, right? That's why I always say, what does your gut say on this? Does your gut say that this is real? Or does your gut say that this is wrong, right? This is fake? Gut gnosis. Trust your gut.